Hello and welcome. Guten Tag.
And to you. I guess, whatever the natural German reply is. Guten Tag.
This is Thoughts from the Movies. And today's a very special day on a number of accounts. First off, it's the first time all three of us are in the same room at the same time recording a...
I see you. There he is. I see him. Yeah.
So there's that.
Yes.
And then also we have Zach with us. Zach, you may recognize from our Yinzer Mob tailgate videos and just running around on a bunch of different things. Zach PGH on Instagram, the GOAT, the man, and the reason we're watching our movie this week. So Zach, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Zach.
Appreciate it.
Zach, this week's movie,
Yes.
Uncut Gems.
Yes.
Why in the hell did we watch Uncut Gems?
Why not? That's the
Yes.
answer.
That would be the
Why the
first-
hell not?
That's the first question,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, if not my favorite release of 2019, maybe 2020. I don't remember when it came out. December.
End of 2019
Yeah.
December.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was,
early
it was
November.
Close.
Yeah.
Yeah, if not my favorite, definitely within the top 3.
Okay.
Love that.
Yes.
Very nice. It was because it was pretty acclaimed by everyone that it came out with, all the critics and everything. It did well at the Oscars. And,
Yes.
or actually not as well as it should have, but it did a good bunch of money at the box office. So
They did Sandler dirty.
They did
Yeah.
Sandler
They
dirty.
did my man dirty.
yeah, no nomination for the guy. A lot of
Yeah.
people thought it was coming.
No, he got the nod, didn't he?
He
I
did
don't
not.
think
Golden
so.
Globes, he got the nod.
Does that even count, though?
Might have.
Even if he did.
I don't
Okay.
even know if he got one
Like-
with the Globes.
Jeez. Okay.
He won like Independent Spirit Award and National Board of Review, like some other stuff, but not any of the big ones at the end.
So it's 2019, like we
Cool.
just said. Directed by Benny and Josh.
Safdie, the
Safdie.
Safdie Brothers. I fucking love the Safdie
Yes.
Brothers. They're two of the filmmakers that I currently am all on board. These guys, and I don't know if you guys know them. The only other movie they did in theaters was called Good Time from 2017 with Robert Pattinson. A lot of the same crew as this movie, but it was fucking awesome, and it kind of came out of nowhere. A24, like Austin likes. I know you like it. Yeah,
Love it.
and they've done a bunch of short films which are really interesting as well. But these guys are true. Old school filmmakers, like they do it all themselves. They
Right.
edit, they star, they write, they just do this like guerrilla style filmmaking. True
Yeah.
indie guys. And have you guys seen Good Time by any chance?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic fucking movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's killer.
Fantastic.
Robert
Have you not
Pattinson-
seen it?
Yeah. It's like it's the same vein as this. It's like very heart pumping. It's like a criminal heist, like on the run. Pumping soundtrack, a lot of anxiety and everything, but very stylish and killer music, and Robert Pattinson's great in it, and then he plays opposite the one brother, Benny Safdie, who's the other lead character.
Sure. Cool.
So, yeah, but I highly recommend it from 2017. That's the movie they did before this. Good
So-
time.
When Uncut Gems comes out, are you already aware of the Safdies?
Yes, but only from Good Time.
Oh,
But
still.
didn't make the connection at first until a buddy of mine was like, "Yo, these are the guys that did Good Time," and I was like, "Okay," because I mean the trailer. We shared the trailer.
Yep.
The trailer is like,
Fucking fire.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the
You
trailer.
are so wound up today.
I'm so amped about that. Yeah. I fucking love it. These guys, yeah. And like I said, I shared the trailer with everybody, and I guess you guys had seen it, right? But I've watched this trailer probably 30 times. I think the trailer is actually better than the movie, but you guys,
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
oh man, I'm scared.
Yeah.
The trailer's incredible.
Yeah.
It's really
It's
like
so good.
I'm trying to think all time. Like
Had you
Guardians
seen,
of the
had you
Galaxy
seen the
trailer.
before I sent it to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, when you either texted me or called, I think you called me because you were that wound up about it. You're like, Sandler, dramatic movie, indie film, panting out of breath. And I was like, fucking buckle up, baby. I'm here.
Sounds right. Okay.
So, like, yeah, like, I remember seeing the trailer. I remember hearing the hype. And everything that I read about it was that Sandler was masterful in his performance.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I turned that off. Was masterful in his performance, and he was. I mean, but I don't think. Let's get into something.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Wait a minute, Austin.
Yes, sir.
Were you aware of what the hell are they called?
The Safdie Brothers.
Safdie.
Safdie Brothers.
I'm gonna put like Saf, SAFTTEY, and then I'm just gonna say safety instead.
The Safdie Brothers.
The Safdie Brothers.
Yeah.
Safety Dance Brothers. Austin, were you aware of the Safdie Brothers at all?
No, this was my virgin experience with them, like going in.
Congratulations.
Sure. Love it.
So, what was your recollection of the build to this movie and all that kind of stuff?
From what I've heard, this was supposed to be Adam Sandler's most incredible performance, and that's going in before seeing it. Mostly because, like I talked about this last week, a actor that plays a certain genre for so long and then finally gets the opportunity to go and do something else and excels at it always piques my interest.
Sure.
Like, put me in a theater, give me a popcorn and a Coke, let me see this film. Because I'm going to be paying every single minute of attention, and I did.
Okay.
Nice.
So let's talk about the cast, because I think the cast needs to be talked about individually before we get into the movie.
Okay.
Because it is such an intense cast. Starring Adam Sandler, right? The comedic genius, the guy that we all remember as kids. I think we can just all put hand in the air right now. We're Adam Sandler fans.
Big
Oh
fan.
yeah.
So
Big
if you're
fan.
looking,
Two of them.
if you're looking for us to bash Adam Sandler, please go somewhere else.
Yeah. I'll bash his Netflix stuff all day, but like say the Sandman himself.
But even you can't even say that, because some of
you
the
definitely say that.
the more serious things he's done for Netflix were good. We
He-
like The Cobbler.
He has always done very well dramatically, actually, which people don't realize as much. He did a Netflix movie called The Meyerowitz Stories, which
Yep.
Noah Baumbach directed before Marriage Story. He was really good in that. I didn't see The Cobbler, so I can't speak to that. but I'll
Also,
take your
Week
word
of
for it.
was incredible. I really loved Week
Is that
of.
the one with
Chris
Chris
Rock?
Rock?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so good. So deep.
Is that
And-
comedy or drama?
A little bit of both.
Both?
Yeah,
Okay.
a dark comedy maybe
Okay.
is a good way to put it. So Sandman So I listened to a podcast interviewing the Safdie brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Interviewing the Safdie brothers before we did this today, and they talked about how this entire time they worked on this project for 10 years, and the entire time they thought, we want Adam Sandler to play the main role. And over a number of times they reached out to his people. He said no.
Mm-hmm.
And then after what was the other movie?
Good time.
Good Time came out. He texted Josh Safdie and he was like, "Hey, this is Sandler. I love your fucking movie." And he goes, "Which Sandler?" So Adam Sandler goes, "The famous one." Which is
Baller
awesome.
move.
Right.
Touche.
The famous one. So, just Punch Drunk Love, that other movie we were just talking about, The Cobbler, like, he's done these type Spanglish, he's done these type of serious roles before. Were you excited to see Well, you were. You
Yep.
had just said that. Like, Zach, as a Sandman fan, where were you when you saw the trailer for this? Also knowing the Safdie brothers ahead of time.
I have to admit, I'm not a well-versed when it comes to Sandler's more serious roles.
Sure.
So this was like kind of like a first. Like, I had no idea about Punch Drunk Love, I don't think.
Oh, wow.
And then
Okay.
I just found out it's directed by the guy who did all these
There Will Be Blood. Yeah.
yeah,
PTA,
yeah,
Paul Thomas
like
Anderson.
crazy ass movies that are like
Yeah,
very
Boogie Nights,
very
yeah.
good. Yeah. So I wasn't like expecting anything like wild, but given the trailer and A24, I mean, I'll ride for A24 any day of the week.
That's-
whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't
That makes me
I don't
so
give a
proud
shit. Yeah.
inside.
Like,
Just to hear
They
that.
really are. 'Cause
820
we've done a few of their movies on here before, and they really are a brand that's synonymous with just like high quality indie
Yeah.
filmmaking, with
Yeah.
good characters, great directors.
Yeah.
You know, nothing that's big action sequences or anything like that. But
I haven't
that's
seen
cool. That's
one.
great to hear you
Yeah.
throw a shout out for them, because Austin's mentioned them a few times too.
I think maybe my first A24 was Green Room with
Okay, yeah, that's going way
Patrick
back.
Stewart and
Yeah.
yeah, it's
don't even know what that
wild ass movie. I think it's on Netflix too.
Okay.
But yeah, given Good Time and A24, I was in. I was
You were in.
10 toes.
Cool. Yeah, so I think we can all just agree, like, Oscar-worthy performance was Rob not getting nominated and just was really a... Like, I always talk about that I love a good acting performance in a movie and that movies are made for actors to act in.
Sure.
And he just destroys it, down to the weird, like, voice he's doing and, like, the mannerisms and everything about that character. Mm-hmm. And according to the Safdie Brothers, 90% of what's coming out of his mouth is improv.
Wow.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I think
there's a certain tone the movie has where you can kind of feel a lot of the improv when they're speaking, especially with Julia Fox's character.
Yes.
It just sort of sounds like it's coming very natural and not as scripted.
Well, it wouldn't be hard to talk pretty to Julia Fox. So let's talk about Julia Fox.
Yeah. Julia Fox. What did you guys think of her? Because she was getting a lot of buzz before this came out, and then I saw it and I was a little underwhelmed. But how did you guys feel about her performance? She's a newcomer. She's apparently like a New York socialite who just does like painting and fashion, all kinds of shit in New York, and that's how they all hooked up together. But she's not an actress, at least before this she wasn't.
Yeah, I'm under the impression they just kind of saw her and was like, we got this part. Like, you're it. You're it. And
Look at you. You've got the part.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't blame them because I looked at her and I was like, yes, whatever is about to happen, I'm fucking here for it. Like, I'll follow you through this. Let's go. So, yeah, I mean, I was, especially with this being her first, like, role, you know, I think, you know, the voice, the look, like, the overall essence she gives just plays into this, like, you know, the goo-maw of this jewelry store owner, like, perfectly.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So I was a fan.
Nice. Awesome.
I will have to say, I did not know that this was her first role, and that makes me love her so much more. Yeah. She was incredible in this film, man. Like, I think, like, Zach literally just took all the words out of my mouth, honestly. Like, she was born to play this role without the ability to ever play a role. And that's a mind-blowing fact to me.
Jennifer Lawrence-esque, just crash arrival onto the scene.
Yeah, we'll see where she goes from here. I don't know.
I hope she doesn't do anything else.
Really?
Like, I hope it's like
a one and done.
Boom.
Yeah.
I was great, wasn't I? Like that.
Yeah.
Just go out on top.
Interesting. Okay. And so, wait, so you loved her performance as well?
I think that her performance was believable.
Okay.
Now, I don't necessarily like the way the character's written.
Interesting.
You know, Howard, we'll get into it, but I don't believe that Howard created enough of a hold on her because, like, he's not rich. He projects wealth, but he's not actually rich. So, like, what is this beautiful woman that Kevin Garnett's flirting with, The Weeknd is trying to hook up with in the bathroom? What is she doing hanging out with this scumbag from Jersey? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Also, I was going to say also, part of the character that Benny Safdie plays, a lot of the characteristics that were written for the Good Times were transitioned into this character's role as well.
What?
Of Julia. So, like, I don't know exactly what that means, but the Safdie brothers said that, and it kind of, like, I was hoping somebody had seen the movie and could tell me.
You're saying a lot of qualities from the character he played in Good Time are the same as the qualities that she has?
Yes, the characters were written from a similar
Do you see any of that, Zach? Because you had seen the movie before. So here's what I remember about the guy that Benny played. He was Robert Pattinson's younger brother, and he has, like...
He's like mentally challenged,
yeah, he's like
right?
mentally challenged.
Yeah.
He's very dependent on Robert Pattinson. He's like kind of a dummy, and Robert Pattinson's trying to keep him alive throughout the night.
Like a Lenny kind of situation.
Yeah.
I think I messed it up.
Okay.
Benny was supposed to appear in this movie, and they took the character Benny was supposed to be and transitioned it to her.
Okay.
That's I messed that up.
Yeah, I wasn't laughing at the fact that he's mentally challenged, but the fact that your character's based off this mentally challenged guy. Like, run with that. Like, I would say she missed the mark there, but...
The next person I want to talk about is Kevin Garnett. Awesome.
Yeah.
Like, he killed it.
Well, you know what's really cool, and I didn't think about this so much the first time as I did today, going back and watching it, because the movie... Because we haven't recapped it yet, right? It's basically about Adam Sandler's character, who is a jeweler who has a big gambling problem, and he gets in with these loan sharks or whoever, and he's trying to work his way out of it. But Kevin Garnett comes into his shop and wants to buy the gem that Adam Sandler is going to use to like pay off all his debts and is going to make a fortune with. But he sees it as like this magical thing that gives him all these great games because it happens during the NBA playoffs. So the movie's set in 2012. Right. And the playoff series that it's set during is the semis of the NBA East, which was Celtics and Sixers, right? Yeah. So what's interesting is that they had to have used all footage from 2012 of the game itself, but all of KG's stuff that he shot would have been present, 2018 when they shot it, and they would have had to intermix that. Yep. And I thought they did a phenomenal job. Like, it was so seamless. It just felt like it was all then, and it was happening live at the time. Mm-hmm. So that was I didn't really get that the first time, but I appreciated it a lot more the second time of how well they kind of stitched that together.
Yeah.
Well, they actually had written the movie 3 different times before this with 3 different basketball players. It was supposed to be Arnett, then it was Kobe, and then it was
I think Amari was in there.
Or I'm sorry, Amari Stoudemire, Kobe, and then Joel Embiid, who's currently a Sixer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And they always wrote the movie around the Stone giving the basketball player a great game. Mm-hmm. So, like, trying to find what game, in what era, could we actually make this happen, like that kind of thing. It was really kind of interesting. If you're a sports fan, go check that part of it out.
Well, not even one game, though, because when he had the Rock, he had a great game, and then he lost the Rock, and he had to have a shitty game after that, and then follow it up with a good game. So it was like a pattern almost that they had to follow.
They wrote it to KG.
I assume they had to have, yeah.
No, but like, so the Kobe famously in like, I can't remember, like 2010 or 13, 14, like well into his career, had a 60-point night at Madison Square Garden. Mm-hmm. And that was the game they were going to use to kind of launch the story of Kobe. Was
interesting. Cool.
And who's the first person you said?
Amari Stoudemire.
Amari Stoudemire coming to New York, and like the Knicks started to get good, and they had a 9-game winning streak going, like all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then Joel Embiid, it was more of a comedy because he's a funny guy off the court.
Okay.
So it was kind of like a whole totally different role, and they had different people playing Sandler through that time. They had Harvey Keitel at one point. They had
Jonah Hill. I know was attached for a little bit.
Jonah Hill was attached for a little bit, and then the big one, Sacha Baron Cohen, was the last one before Sandler signed on.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So like this movie, I think concept wise was always a jeweler gets a rock, gives it to an athlete, but the athlete and the main character have changed so many times over 10 years that like it's just become its own thing. I can't say his name.
Lakeith Stanfield.
Thank you. Wow.
He plays what's his name? Damani, right? I believe.
Yeah.
And he's Kevin Garnett's sort of hookup to Howard's World, and he's actually a fantastic actor who's done a lot of work that you guys would recognize if you saw him. He was in Get Out. Yep. He was in Knives Out. He was in a movie called Dope and Short Term 12.
Love Dope.
The Photograph was a romantic comedy he did, or a romantic movie he did with Issa Rae this past year. But
you're missing his biggest role.
It's the one with the horses at the end or something. It's got like a wild twist ending.
Oh, I don't know.
I can't remember the name of it.
I was talking about Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
He's Paperboy's best friend in Atlanta, and he is a scene stealer in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. He is not supposed to be the main character, and he steals every scene he's in.
Yeah, he's fantastic, and what's great about him is that he, in every movie that he's done, he has such a wide range of the roles that he plays. It's really interesting. Yes. Like this one, he plays sort of like a hood thuggish, like a boy of a boy for the entourage or whatever. Mm-hmm. In Knives Out, he played like a very prim and proper detective helping Daniel Craig out, and in Get Out, he was like a prisoner of the white people's farm or whatever it was. He's all over the place, and he's so. He's just a very talented actor in terms of his range.
Excels at basically everything he does, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't. I don't think he's done any like leading roles besides The Photograph, that romantic movie. But every supporting role he's had has been very, very well done.
Yeah. Not to be outdone though, Idina Menzel, my girl.
Idina, yes.
I love her.
Okay.
I love her in everything.
Big Wicked fan.
Big Wicked fan. Big Glee fan.
Nice.
Frozen. I mean, the chick can sing.
Yep.
She can act. And she has what she does well nailed down. And part of that, obviously, is her Broadway background. She's been acting for years. She's just recently become a bit of a TV movie star. But I think she's just like, when you see her, she harkens back to like classic Hollywood as a professional actress. You know you're going to get a solid performance, and she's going to look great doing it, and you're going to believe everything she does. She's old school.
Interesting. Yeah, it probably comes from her theater background.
Sure.
It's like more of a classically trained.
Eric Bogosian.
Eric Bogosian, who plays Arno
Yes.
in the film, who, honestly, I know his name, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what other movies he's done. It's probably gangster roles or Italian.
He's kind of like a nobody. He's the same role every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Which one is Arno? Is it
The brother.
Like his brother, who he
brother-in-law?
also owes
Okay.
money to, and
Yeah.
he kidnaps him in the van, and he's like, "You resurfaced your fucking pool."
Which was a great twist.
Yep.
It was a great twist.
That was the
Judd Hirsch, who is also the worrisome Jewish father in Independence Day.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum's
Yes.
dad.
Yes.
He's also in.
You punched the president?
He's also in Cheers.
Okay.
But yeah, just super, like, just seeing, like, guys like Eric Bogosian and Judd Hirsch, just, like, those could have been characters that were cast as nobody actors that you forget about, but they went and got professionals to play the C characters, and I think that's what really makes this movie shine, is that your A-list cast does never overshine, like, your C-list characters. Like, every scene with Adam Sandler and Judd Hirsch is so believable. It's so awesome. Like, some of my favorite scenes in the movie involve the two of them in it. So,
I did not know he was still alive. I was very excited to see him.
Yeah.
well, he's been the same age for like 40
Yes,
years.
he has not
He's very
aged.
much like Sam Elliott. Like,
Yeah.
he's been 70s for 40 years.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the aliens in Independence Day had him and then brought him back for this role.
True.
He was cryogenically frozen.
Mike Francesca makes an appearance. He's a New York sports personality, kind of like a Mark Madden to us. Which
Okay.
it's just super cool that, like, when they were talking a lot about, like, they needed to capture New York. Well, Mike Francesca is New York sports, and it's a sports movie. It was awesome.
What does he do the sports for in New York? Is he like baseball,
He's
basketball?
Yankees.
Yankees.
And
Does
Giants?
he do a specific
I think
sport, or does he
that
do like
might
the
be right. I don't
sports
think
show?
he's Jets. He's definitely Giants.
He's Yankees play-by-play, but then he also has his own, like, daily radio show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this the bookie in the movie?
He's the bookie.
Question. Now, I just thought about this now. Is he also the bookie in, what is it? The one with Andy Samberg?
The one with Andy Sandler.
Daddy.
That's my boy.
That's my boy. Is he
I don't
also
know.
the bookie
I mean,
in?
Francesca and Sandler are tight, so it
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. And then finally, a guest appearance by The Weeknd.
Film debut. Yeah.
Pretty cool. I mean, The Weeknd, if you are our age, is pop culture. And to watch his rise and to know that it's shot in 2012, so, like, he is just kind of becoming a big thing in 2012. Like, he was still playing Smalls in 2012.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things I liked about the movie is you kind of forget it takes place in 2012.
Right.
So until we just said this right now, I didn't realize that this is like The Weeknd. You know,
Yeah,
he's
this is-
at a club and he's approachable.
Yes,
You know?
exactly. Well, and that's
Yeah.
really, like, if you think about it, like, they're sitting on speakers and stuff when they're
Yeah.
listening to him. And they had to digitally redo his hair. Because
Yeah.
they had cut it.
Oh,
So,
shit.
yeah.
I was
Interesting.
like, he's got his old hairstyle.
Yeah, which was,
Wow.
pretty
I didn't
famous.
know that.
But, yeah. All right.
Well, the whole thing though is anchored around Sandler because the rest
Right.
of the cast, I wouldn't really say any of them are A-list. Even Idina Menzel, not really in movies. You know, these are all people that are sort of on a tier, at least a tier down from Sandler. Julia Fox never done anything. Lakeith Stanfield mostly supporting. Sandler's iconic. So the whole movie is carried by his performance.
Sure, absolutely. I don't think anybody except for Julie Fox was cast out of where they would be in another movie, though. So, like, if KG and Lakeith and Idina are the three, like, B actors, that's where they would be in a regular movie.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and then everybody below that is a C or a B actor. And then you have, like, some celebrity appearances. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it was a well-cast movie. It was well thought out. Yeah.
There are two other people I got to mention real quick.
Ooh, okay.
First off, the gentleman at the end that plays the high roller.
Yes.
Who is that?
Who is that guy?
He is also like a Julia Fox type where they just picked him off the street.
Okay.
And I don't know if you
like
guys...
at the casino?
Yeah,
Man,
something to that regard. And I don't know if you guys follow New York Nico on Instagram. He's kind of like our Keep Pittsburgh Dope for New York. And during the quarantine, he like befriended him, or if he wasn't already familiar with him, because he does like a lot of like New York personalities he documents. And he just posted one day like a bunch of pictures of this dude and his wife, and they're like, high-rise loft, and it's just him like, old naked with a towel wrapped around him, just like cooking, or old naked with a towel wrapped around him. And they did a recreate this look contest where you just submitted like your best impression of dude like living lavish, being old. And secondly, I think I can't imagine this being a cameo for any other reason than it just being like a New York nod, a cameo. But John Amos, Mr. McDowell from Coming to America, when they're going to when they're going to the apartment, he's like, ask him if you could use a shitty, and he's like, who is that? He's like, that's John Amos,
Yeah.
That I was a big fan of that. That was a nice nod.
Apparently, they also pulled the lead thug off of the streets too. Buddy, I think is his name in the script, but he was just like a dude that was like, I guess, a tough guy from the area, and they're like, you want to be in this movie?
I believe it.
I can see that. But it's also interesting because for the voiceover roles, they got actual like high-profile people. Tilda Swinton plays the voice of the British, the appraiser of gems, and Natasha Lyonne plays KG's lawyer on the phone. Yeah. So they actually got pretty decent people for the voiceover roles.
Huge. Like Natasha Lyonne at this point is an A-list actress. If not, she's right at that line.
I don't know if they shot this before or after Russian Doll, because this shot in 2018.
Oh, but you got Orange is the New Black. I know you're not a TV guy, but Orange is the New Black, Nikki's incredible. She's arguably my favorite character on that show. I didn't know she was in that show. Oh, dude, she's one of the leads.
I know Laura Prepon in Crazy Eyes, or whatever it is. Yeah. Okay. Taylor Schilling. Yeah. Sorry, Natasha.
Let's dive into this movie. We've already been talking for 27 minutes. Okay. The movie's title sequence is basically the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Kind of, with a colonoscopy trope.
And then
instead of the ball coming down, it was Adam Sandler's poop shoot.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that Adam Sandler got a butt joke in an Academy-nominated film? Like, fucking right, Sandman. He got a poop joke in. Like, right off the drop, too.
His colon was very clean, though.
Yeah. So, it was very clean. Very clean colon. One pull-up.
Yeah, just the one.
Check that out. The movie really starts when... Whoa, Jesus, Josh. Fucking slow down. So, basically, after the colonoscopy, we kind of just get the title sequence where we find out that Adam Sandler's, like, a jeweler and a swindler, and he's talking to everybody and doing his... New York accent kind of stuff. And the movie doesn't really pick up until he comes back after doing something I can't even remember at this point, and he finds out that Kevin Garnett is in his shop waiting for him. And that's like the beginning. That's where we start. And at the same point in time, we kind of get Sandman's life Howard's life laid out in front of us. We know that there's a really older Jewish woman, not older, but like a middle-aged Jewish woman who's like constantly squawking in the corner, and we know he's got like his Middle Eastern like smooth talking salesman and like the guy in the back, and like I'm gonna keep Lakeith's character, like how like we're not sure what that relationship is yet, but like we know that he's in there all the time, and like we really get a good exploration in a short amount of time in an opening sequence, which few movies can do that quick. Like, you know exactly who these people are, exactly what this movie's going to be, and like you get everything like that off the drop. And you're only like 5 or 10 minutes into the movie.
I'd prefer that all the time, honestly, next to like the movies that take so long with exposition, everything trying to explain us to everything like we're dumb, where this just like You get it at the drop of a pin, and you understand it. I wish they would do that more, because exposition over time takes me out of the movie completely. Makes me feel like I'm stupid, and I don't need to watch it.
Well, that's why we all hated Good, Bad, and the Ugly, I think, because
Right.
so much of that, 18-hour movie was of exposition. So, let me ask you, while we're on the subject, though, one of the big identifying pieces of Safdie Brothers filmmaking is their pace and their tone and the atmosphere that it creates of sort of this stress-inducing, high-anxiety, high-octane type of world. And that was in Good Time, and a lot of it is fed through the music, but a lot of it in this movie is fed through all of the yelling over top of each other, and Sandler's really fast-paced talking, and just sort of, it's very crazy, everything in your face type of movie. The pace is very fast, and you just have to kind of keep up with everything that's being said and all the stuff that's happening as far as placing the bets and different characters and stuff. So did you guys ever feel confused at any point because of that? Did you wish they had slowed down or had talked over each other less, or did you like that atmosphere? What were your thoughts on that whole sort of presentation, the whole tone of the movie in that sense?
I mean, first off, I think this is the most anxious I've been during a movie for its entirety. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever been degenerate gamblers before, but as someone who's dabbled,
Justin was literally like, the casino went green, and he was like, I'll be at the casino tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean,
went green. It's a sign. Green, baby.
I mean, especially like, probably within like the last 8 years, there have been days where I was like mountaineer the rivers and the meadows all within like 48 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So as I think maybe my own degenerate gambler tendencies, like maybe where somebody else would get lost in like what's happening, I think like I was still anxious because like I've been there to an extent, never like 40,000 on a game or anything like that. I've never really dabbled in like sports betting until about the time Uncut Gems came out. But yeah, I think just like
until Doc started throwing picks in the end zone. He's like, give me 4 picks this week.
Yeah, I think there was something in a way like I felt like more connected to what was going on, but also it hyped my anxiety because I was like getting the all too familiar feeling of I know what it's like to this has to happen, B has to happen, C has to happen, or you're fucked. So I think to a certain extent like it helped follow the plot, but it also like helped that Safdie brother effect of keeping you on the edge of your seat. So
yeah. Interesting. Austin, could you relate to it as much, or how did you feel about the atmosphere?
I don't know if I could relate to it as much. I've always been a little bit more, I don't want to say like concerned.
You're frugal.
Church
I'll
boy.
take it for you. You're a frugal bitch.
There were definitely some points where like the yelling may have gotten a little bit confusing, but I think that adds to the tone of the story.
Definitely.
Because we know how, well, not some per se, but gambling and everything and what that does to your psyche and everything with you have to pay this, or like Zach said, you're fucked. So it builds because you see that strain almost in the voice rise and higher almost, and maybe the words don't make quite sense. I think that's the whole point, because you're nervous because you don't really know what's going to happen next. You're living on the edge of not knowing if you're going to be there tomorrow.
So they had 48 pages of ADR, which most movies have 2 or 3 to give you a
We'll say
fuck,
48.
my brain is not good this late. But like
48 pages.
48 pages,
half the script.
But they were creating characters that never appear on screen. So if you go back and watch this original scene when KG's like in the shop, you hear a guy like, "Hey KG, come check this out." That guy never appears on screen. They just named him KG's best friend in the ADR script. They embedded a character in post.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
And like I guess just like they had a lot of that stuff on set. Like they did a lot of, they set the scene. They kept their cameras majorly out of the perspective of the actors, and they just let it unfold. So like if you see 2 characters talking in the background, they're actually talking about something in the case, or they're actually engaged in a real conversation, and they're talking like we're talking here, but they're talking at a normal speaking volume. So Sandler's then has to come up here. Then they got to come up here. Then they got to come up here. And so, like, a lot of that is real. That noise, that chaos is real that they captured on set. So they had to go back in and basically redo most of the dialogue that they wanted captured.
Wow.
Well, that also plays into the New York setting, right? Because the Safdie brothers are New York born. I think they're Brooklyn born and raised, Jewish, like Adam Sandler.
They're not Jewish.
Are you sure?
Almost positive. Oh, no, wait. Dude, can we never do these this late again?
They may or may not be Jewish.
Allegedly Jewish.
It's unconfirmed. But anyway, no, that represents to the New York Diamond District being a character of its own. And like you said, how they always had the camera so far away, people never knew what it was, but it played up with the atmosphere and all the street noise and all the craziness going on. That was just real life happening around them.
Down to the breaking when KG goes through the glass. So that was on a false wire. And they just let the scene play out, and then they hit it when they wanted to.
Wow.
Yeah. Genuine reactions.
Yeah. It was incredible. All right. So KG, so Adam Sandler is kind of like bouncing around here. He's interacting with all these characters. He's trying to keep KG in the story, keep him interested, and then the opal shows up. It was shipped from Ethiopia inside of a fish, so that's cool.
How else are you gonna get in here? It's like a potato-sized piece of rock that they dug out of the mine, and in it is like an opal, which is a multicolored gem, and that's the sort of the MacGuffin of the story. That's the thing that they're chasing.
MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Big word.
MacGuffin.
Yeah.
So at 20 minutes in, we have our inciting incident, which is KG wants the jewel. Sandman doesn't want to give it up because he has it set to auction. Mm-hmm. He thinks he's going to make $1 million off of it, which is, enough to pay back all of his gambling debts and then some.
Yes.
So in this moment, I think we get, part of it is the script, but then part of it is also Adam Sandler at its best. We get two incredible lines out of Adam Sandler. The first one, I was watching the History Channel trying to learn some shit.
Yeah.
That was made up,
Been
apparently. There. And then as KG's like falling in trance with the opal, you can faintly make out Adam Sandler says, the dinosaurs stared at this shit.
I think I missed that line for sure.
It's so good. So good.
That's gotta be ad-lib. That's gotta be 100%
that one definitely
Sandler.
is, yeah.
So KG in there. KG wants the opal.
So
Sandler wants to auction it.
So Sandler allows KG to take it for the night. He's going to hold on to it because he feels he's going to have a great game, right? He takes that as a sign to go bet on KG for that night, right? So he takes his 2008 championship ring as collateral. Mm-hmm. And then he goes to my two favorite characters in the movie. The pawn shop guys.
Yeah. Fair, I'm sure they were the real dudes.
Those were the real dudes. Yeah, like the one even like he's like, baby, what's wrong? Like at one point the Sandler, those dudes were incredible. So he pawns the ring off, and he takes the money from the pawn, and he goes to see what's his freaking name?
The bookie Francesca, right?
Francesca, yeah, Mike Francesca.
There you go.
And he places a bet. That KG's going to do all this stuff tonight, and they're going to beat the money line, yada, yada, yada. Turns out, they do. Okay? So he hits, at least what he thought he hit. And he has a very intimate scene, which most of us probably rewinded at least once, with Julia Fox. As she comes, he's going to surprise her that night. Well, I'm blowing past this, aren't I?
I think a bit. Because, well, I'm not quite sure. Does he see Julia Fox the same night that he goes to his daughter's play?
That's
later. Yeah.
You're
later.
on the right track because
all of his bets hit, and he gets real excited. So he goes back to his apartment that he has on the side where Julia Fox's character lives with him.
Yes,
and he's all like, he's got what's in that bag?
Oh no! Wait, I did miss. Yeah, okay, because we did miss something because he goes home, this is a really important scene because we find out about his actual life. that, you know, he has a wife, he has 3 kids, he has a son that's like 12 that he has to put to bed at night or something.
That's right.
Because he's watching the game and she's bitching at him.
Right, he's watching the game at the house. He's trying to watch it. Idina Menzel tells him to go tuck son in. He's laying on the floor looking at it on his phone, and the kids like watching him. He's like, yeah, right. It's great physical acting from Sandler, which we know he's capable of. We meet what I think is the middle child, but we meet Eddie, who is just like wants to be just like his dad. Duncan in the room watching KG. They're talking about betting. We find out that Eddie's already a degenerate gambler at the tender age of 15. And like just kind of like what his life looks like, right?
Right.
So then he's in the cab because he's obviously not staying there. As he's in the we also find out that he's in the middle of a divorce.
Yeah.
Pending divorce.
Yeah. Right. So that's kind of a whole thing that we find out, this entire separate side of Howard that beforehand we didn't know anything about, right? It just adds a lot of depth to that character. And I think when he's in the shop, I can't relate to him at all. Now, if you're a gambler, I think you probably could, right? Mm-hmm. But as you know, Joe Blow, who wouldn't spend their money, drop a dime on the fact that Sidney Crosby's going to score a goal in a Stanley Cup final, right? Like, I wouldn't do that, even though I know it's going to happen. So I can't relate to him. But when he's around his family, I understand that guy now. I understand that's Uncle Fred. That's this. That, you know what I mean? Like,
really?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because he's clearly like a bad father. Like, he's getting divorced from his wife, and he'd rather watch the game that he's bet on than go tuck his kids in. Like, all he cares about is the game and his bet. And she's like, your kid's been waiting for half an hour. Go tuck him in. And he's like very detached. He's not like a loving dad who also happens to be a gambler. He's like, clearly, that's his priority is the bet.
Yeah.
Above it, family.
But I understand the character better now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, sure. He's more rounded after
right.
that. Yeah.
Which is, I think, something we've been talking about a lot lately. Pardon me. That a lot of the main characters I'm supposed to be associating with in the movies we're watching, I'm not getting enough, right? Yeah. So, like, the main character in Ex Machina, I didn't associate with him at all. I associated with Nathan or whatever that guy's name was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was the movie before that, too?
The Matrix?
Maybe not The Matrix. I can't remember. But there's been a bunch of movies lately where I've just been like, I don't connect with that main character, and this helps me connect with him. Understand who he is, get the breadth of his entire life. That, like, he does this as an escape. The escape has ruined his life. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you guys this then. Throughout the whole movie, Adam Sandler doesn't really change. It's all about gambling for him and winning and losing all that stuff. That's just his world, and that's all it is.
He gets a little reflective, but not much.
Right, but for the most part, it's just about his gambling problems, right?
Right.
And that's his character, and ultimately it, proves fatal in the end. But do you guys sympathize or empathize at all with his character? I mean, he's a very charismatic guy, even though he's kind of a scumbag, and he doesn't pay his debts, and he's not a family guy, but he's just got that charisma to him, that fast-talking New York, just like, guy feels like he can conquer the world. I mean, how did you guys think about his character on the whole? Like, what were your thoughts about him?
It's interesting because I do sympathize with him because it's really hard to point the finger at a guy that's had his mind poisoned by so much of this throughout his entire life, right? I mean, it's the same thing of going with, like, drug addiction, alcoholism. It really warps your head, right? And to the point where all you are doing is thinking about this, where I assume that he would really probably want to be connected, right? That you want to believe that. You want to believe that he's connected with his family. And that, like Josh said, has a little bit of reprieve and tries. But it's hard because his mind is so warped by this has to be done, this has to be done, this is my life, I can't leave it kind of thing, right? I will say this. At the end of this movie, I felt broken by this performance. I felt like everything I loved about this very comedic guy, like actor, has been shattered because he plays in a role that arguably I believe is his greatest.
Interesting.
Hitting it with the mental health.
But it
Get deep.
Yeah, definitely.
I liked it a lot of time.
I like it.
So you
I know
sympathize
because
with
it's
him.
real.
Well, I think it's interesting because you don't really know his character's backstory at all. Like, you don't know how he developed this addiction or why he does it. I mean, he's 48 and he's just a guy who suffers from this severe gambling addiction who, like Josh said, presents as having wealth but is constantly in debt and everything. So that's interesting that you connected with that aspect of it because I didn't really... Because you don't really know too much about it. So, like, I certainly felt, like, connected to him for his charisma, but I didn't feel bad when he died. I was surprised when he got shot in the face. But
Zach?
Zach, what about you? Yeah.
I mean, I think, on whatever this says about me,
Welcome to therapy.
it's neither here nor there, but I think, I kind of, not that I saw myself in Adam Sandler, but I think I kind of connected. Like, I recognized some of my own, like, character flaws in him. But, and I don't know if this is going to be going too deep, but they make a point of saying that the opal being so old that, like, you can see, like, the beginnings of the universe in it. So I kind of thought of that in regard to, the universe being the world as it is or whatever. And when he has the opal, he feels like he has the world, like, in his hands.
Absolutely.
But there's very little time in the movie that he actually has
Absolutely.
the opal, So when he doesn't have it, he's out of control.
And things go well when he has the opal.
Correct.
Yeah, and although he's going through the divorce and he's, a shitty father, a degenerate gambler, I think that in a way, he probably, even though he tries to reconcile with his wife and she's like, your face is stupid to me, I think he recognizes to a certain extent that, this opal is his way out. Whatever that means, it's, it's his redemption.
Absolutely.
And the fact that he's just unable to literally grasp it and like
slipping through his hands the entire time. It's a great point. It's a huge metaphor. The opal is his life. Because when he has control of it, things go well. But with second it leaves his grasp, everything spirals on him.
And the same with Garnett, when he doesn't have it, he has a shitty game or whatever. But when he has it, he's on top of the world. He's fucking dominating on the court,
Right.
So, and, I don't know.
Let me ask you
I think
guys.
that was brilliant. I think that was absolutely spot on.
I do what I can.
We should see what he thinks red means in Tootsie.
Oh, Jesus.
It's not
Bring it back. Well, let me ask you guys this to follow that up, though. Do you think that Howard's character, for, the extent of his adult life, let's say, or at least within the span of the movie, but do you think his character is looking just for that one big score as a gambler? Because he buys this opal to sell it for millions, and then at the end, when KG buys it for $175K or whatever, he can clear his debts and get back to normal. But instead, he takes that and spins it on another parlay to win big. Like, do you think that he's just, it's never big enough, or he's just looking for one to get out? Like, how does that sit with you guys?
I think that the more important thing is that there's never a good end game and stuff like this. It's always looking for the next big score, right? So I would think that whatever would happen, I don't think anything would change. I think that he would go right back to where he is because he's fallen down the rabbit hole so far in this that it's hard to essentially climb back out. You would have to just keep going, trying to maintain it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Zach, from your gambling experience, do you think...
I mean, I wouldn't, not even from like my gambling experience, but I think that, I think in a way he thinks that this is his way out, but, and obviously we don't see how everything turns out because of the ending of the film, but, I mean, he kind of has nothing to lose. I mean, he's losing his actual wife for whatever character flaws he has. He has like this, for, I would say maybe not like a bulk of the movie, but for a good portion, he's pushing Julia Fox away due to his insecurities of seeing her with The Weeknd. And even his legitimate family, like his brother's the one that his brother-in-law, excuse me, is the one that he's into all this money for. His business is quasi-failing, when he comes
he's
in.
selling fake rollies.
Yeah, he's selling fake rollies, and then his big ticket item when an NBA star comes in is a fucking Furby on a chain.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
he doesn't really have anything. So
Right.
if the Opal, if he sells it for millions, like maybe like that's his way out or whatever. But I mean, I think innately he'll eventually or would go back to this, but he doesn't get the opportunity to.
I really like what they're bringing today.
Sure.
It's spot on, I think. I have nothing to add. I think
Nice.
it's spot on.
Yeah, no, it's interesting for sure to think about, just because it's one of those things where you kind of just think about and then fill in yourself, right? Because they don't present a clear, like, he never says, like, if I just sell this and then I'm out, it's like,
Noir
will he
ending.
always be looking for another, or will that be the one? Like, if that bet hadn't been canceled, the one where he hit on at the beginning,
Right.
what would have happened
Yeah.
in that
Exactly.
scenario?
Yep.
Because we talked about that earlier. He made that bet initially with the money he pawned from KG's ring on a big parlay for that night, and they all hit. But then his brother cancels the bet because he's pissed at him for taking his money that he owes him. So he just cancels it instead of winning, which should have been a huge payout. So.
Right.
And I think they kind of there's the scene where Sandler and KG are in his office, and KG calls him out, like he's like, "Oh, you bought this for like $100,000 from
at the
some
end.
Ethiopians, thinking it was going to be worth millions." And he, that's when he says, like, "This is how I win." He's like, "Do you want to win by 1 or do you want to win by 30?" And I think they kind of play off each other in that regard.
Yeah.
So
Great scene, great dialogue in that scene. Just how he's comparing his score to what KG does as an athlete.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we need to talk about the Julia Fox scene, though. So basically,
Okay.
the bet hits. He finds out. He goes to surprise Julia Fox at the apartment downtown, and we get some raunchy moments. And Sandler has a very intimate interaction with Julia Fox, and very. Yep.
Yeah.
Can I just list to you the other women that Adam Sandler has co-starred with and at least had a kiss with, if not more physical contact?
It's gonna make me sad. But
It is going to make you sad. Let's start with Jennifer Aniston in 2 different movies.
Boo.
Selma Hayek, Jessica Biel, Kate Beckinsale, Courtney Cox, Drew Barrymore in 2 different movies.
At least 2.
Marissa Tomei, and last but not least, Bridget Wilson, a.k.a. Veronica A. Vaughn.
Oh yeah.
Man.
Oh dude, and you forgot Happy Gilmore too. What's Julie Bowen?
Oh, shit!
Who's in Modern Family now, but as Virginia Bennett, who I like more than Veronica Vaughn. I think it's a tie. But yeah, seriously, Sandler with the babes.
The best part, I think, is that Sandler has been the producer for almost every single one of the movies I just listed off. So he helped cast the leading lady in every one of those movies. And apparently he's the one that said we should ask Julia Fox to be in this movie.
Nice.
much respect.
Yeah.
Good for him. It's
Yeah.
right. It's right. The next day, Howard tries to get the Opal back from KG. We kind of get like this runaround scenario. He goes to the practice facility. KG won't let him in. Yada, yada, yada. Right?
Right.
After the failed attempt, he goes to his daughter's play just to get kidnapped by his brother-in-law's goons.
Yep.
He ends up locked in the trunk of his car. Oh, well, that's a big point. We should talk about that. Because that's when we find out. We meet the guy that he owes the money to in this scene, right? He keeps saying his name, and he's like, "Stop saying my name! Stop saying my name!" And we kind of catch a glimpse or two of his face, right? So he ends up locked in the trunk of his car. He has to call Idina Menzel to come let him out. And in one look, Idina Menzel delivers an entire monologue.
Yep.
And that is why she's my girl. Because that's old school. That she didn't have to say shit. They could have written dialogue for her there, and she probably delivered that look. They're like, you know what? Don't say anything. That's all you have
When she goes to get him out of the trunk of the car. What I found interesting about that scene was that she was like running to the car.
Right.
And I thought that was weird given that like...
Well, she didn't want to miss the play.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
again?
because she
that
runs
was the
back.
whole thing.
After
Okay.
she gives the look,
To
she
me, it
runs
came
back.
off as like she was in a hurry to get to the car
No.
to
No.
like help him or whatever.
No, she didn't want to miss the performance.
I see, that
Might
makes
we
sense.
add that he was locked in the trunk of his car, naked.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So that obviously, I don't think anybody else would have a different look if they came out and saw their husband locked in a trunk.
But just
of a
like
car
her
naked.
knowing why he was in there and like the extent of, she clearly knows like the extent of his problems.
Gambling problem,
Yeah,
yeah.
like it didn't surprise her that much.
So then we get, I think, probably my least favorite part of the movie, and the only part of the movie I really have a problem with. So this runtime is 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah. Little long, yeah.
Little long. And they could have got it down inside that 2 hour mark if we did not have the awkward sandwich making scene, right? Where Idina Menzel's like, you're a loser.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, the daughter's there, and he's like, hiya, on the phone, and she's, like, blowing him off or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that didn't do anything for the character for me.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I would argue that as well.
I would argue that as well. Yeah. Go ahead.
You see a lot of how much disinterest the family has for their father's problems.
Okay.
Because their problems are making it, or his problems are making it their problem. And they're essentially like the black sheep trying to shut him out, so he eventually leaves. That's why there's the potential divorce in there.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, it's a sense of, you can argue maybe just being a teenage thing of, angst and whatever, not trying to be around, but there's clearly resentment in her eyes, which I took very...
In the wife and the daughter.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting because, and then, I don't know, maybe Zach, if you want to tie break this, I was actually in that scene more in tune with what is said about Howard's character, because he's actually making an attempt to connect with his daughter in that scene. He's like, just wanted to check in and see how you're doing and all that stuff. So it's like it feels like he's making a genuine effort, even though he's clearly like so far out of it that he doesn't realize how far out of it he is. But he's just like, put the phone down for a second, let me talk to you, like, how's it going, everything okay? Like, and she blows him off, of course, but for me that was like, okay, he's at least tried. There was a little bit of empathy for his character, because it's like he's sort of trying to be a good dad.
Yeah, I think it kind of just drives home the fact that the family life is kind of fucked up beyond repair, because you already know the wife is like over his bullshit, and then you see like him and the daughter, and he's like trying to redeem himself, but like she's over his bullshit already. And I mean, later you see that with the middle son when they go to the apartment, but I think it just kind of sends home that it's like, it's not just an issue with him and his wife, like it's him and the family, like not a falling apart between him and his wife, but the entire family and Howard.
So that's a good point, because remember you were saying his kids, like his one son, was emulating him.
Right.
Putting
The
bets
other
and
one
watching
doesn't.
Sports.
The other one's like disgusted by him when he's laying on the floor watching the game on his phone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that those scenes, if put in the first family interaction, sing to me like, oh, okay, look, his one son thinks he's a god, but it's a teenage kid who just wants to live that lifestyle. His wife hates him, his daughter doesn't give a shit, and his youngest son thinks he's a loser. Like, that is like that overwhelming, like, amount of scenes they could have packed into the first one. Like, imagine if he's looking at the phone, watching it in the kitchen, making a sandwich, and she comes in and he like tries to like put it down, but he's like looking out of the corner of his eye, right? Like, hey, let me talk to you. You know what I mean? Like, that's a stronger moment than Idina Menzel already delivers the daggers with her eyes when he's naked in the trunk of the car. I don't need this scene. And it's an extra 15 minutes. This whole movie, a scene lasts for at least 15 minutes per scene. So you can cut that for me.
I don't know, man. There's a really strong scene that I saw in like kind of like the middle-ish near end of it, where they have to go back to the apartment to get something. And the kid finds out that there's another girl living there. And
this is the kid who idolizes him.
Correct. Yeah. And you see that now, that transforming of one that was wanting to be so much like him, that is now the last pin to drop, so to speak.
This might be a weird comparison, but as we're talking through it, it kind of reminds me of like Willy Wonka, where they each have their own. Yeah, like each scene has where one child like falls away from Howard, and then maybe towards the end where you have the scene with the son that idolizes him, and he finds out about this other woman. It's the Charlie Bucket in the Office with Willy Wonka, and it's like the final betrayal. And he's like, you get nothing, except there's no there's no glass elevator. There's no happy ending in this
comparison.
one.
Yeah,
I buy that.
It's very interesting to have them like kind of fall one by one.
It's the dominoes falling until.
But Zach's explanation is the only explanation I heard as to why that scene needs to be in the like a couple of scenes later instead of also when we first meet all of his family members.
Definitely.
Because I think if you do it all at once, there's no need for the family and the throughout it.
It's a great point.
I think it's important that you establish first just how bad his gambling addiction is, right? Like if you combine scenes where you show him as that, like he's just completely blowing off his family to gamble, but then also he's like trying to connect, you're sending mixed signals, right?
Yeah.
So I think you have to have separate scenes because you're saying, wow, this guy's just totally fixated on his betting. And then later you can revisit him trying to be a good dad. But if you have it all in the same scene, I think it's trying to do too much.
Yeah.
Trying to put pieces in a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, you're still trying to establish and let the audience know this guy's just really fucking into this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right.
But
I
like Zach's explanation better.
I buy it. We'll keep it. We'll keep it as we're re-editing the movie.
I'll allow it.
What do we think about the whole nightclub weekend scene?
Hilarious. I loved it, and that was near the end, obviously, when he finds that she's in there with the Weeknd. Because you never picture him, like, brawling almost with someone, like, on the floor, freaking out. I don't know, did anyone else feel that? Like,
you're talking about Sandler brawling?
Yeah,
okay.
With, like, him and the Weeknd, like, fighting. Yeah. I thought that's like a, pick two random names out of a hat kind of thing that you would see. Yeah. Obviously, the other stuff played into it of, like, insecurity and drugs and everything that happened. But for the most part, I thought when he, like, dragged him out, like, the Weeknd, like, a pretty big star, and him with this complex being like, I'm the shit, like, I don't know. What do you think?
So here's the deal. The Weeknd was nobody in 2012. Zach, back me up.
I mean, I didn't really get into the Weeknd until this like newest album came out. Exactly. I mean, I was obviously aware of who the Weeknd was, but
like, they play the Weeknd up so heavy in this, and it's just some dude in a club.
Where's he from though? Like, is he from New York?
No,
like,
he's from Toronto. He's Canadian.
He's Canadian, yeah.
Touche.
So like, you know what I mean? It's not even like he would be like a local legend or anything. So like,
I don't know his timeline.
I think that bugs me about this scene, and then also like, what's he doing there?
Howard?
Yeah.
He goes there to meet Damani, who he thinks has the gem.
Yeah.
Right. That's the
and
whole
then he
reason
doesn't,
he's there.
so he stays when he sees Julia flirting with the Weeknd, which sets him off. And then they go back to the green room or whatever, and he finds that the Weeknd is in the bathroom with her trying to fuck her, which seems really like a stretch for his character at that moment. But she, later when they're on the street yelling, is like, you just blew a huge sale for me. Like, she was trying to hook him to bring him in so she could sell him stuff. Like, because when he's trying to have sex with her, she's like, no. Like, she's pushing him away or whatever.
Yeah.
And then later she's like, you blew that sale or whatever. But anyway, that's why he's there and that's why he sticks around.
I could have done without it. Now,
who would you have rather seen?
I don't even care. Like, I think the fact that the Weeknd is in it and they make such a big deal about the Weeknd, like, they even bring him up at the beginning of the movie. Like, in 2012, the Weeknd is not like this. Like, the Weeknd doesn't have the money to go blow it in Howard's jewelry store.
Should have been like A$AP Rocky.
Yes, or Kendrick,
yeah.
Or like somebody like that, because they even play Kendrick's song in the club.
True.
So like, they weren't playing the Weeknd song. Like, yeah, he sang, but like, You know what I mean? Like, it's probably because Anastasia was a huge fan of The Weeknd in 2012, and like I remember like him being like, oh, who's this Michael Jackson sounding dude? And then like, boom, he blew up after that. But in 2012, The Weeknd is not like the man.
But they didn't play him up like he was like selling out stadiums.
Yeah,
it was
that's
like a backroom show.
Yeah,
I
think that's a good point. Like, he's at a club.
Yeah,
like, he's not at like he's at like Scenario or whatever.
Yeah.
Rest
he's
in
the
peace.
eventual like rising star.
Sure.
Yeah,
like fresh on the scene, hot new sound type
I
thing.
literally think The Weeknd being in it just took me entirely out of it. Which isn't The Weeknd's fault.
Really?
I thought he was good.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, that was a good performance from The
He
Weeknd.
sang a song and then tried to have sex in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So.
Like, you know.
Showing those acting
although,
chops.
The Weeknd did not talk very dirty to Julia Fox in the bathroom. And if you listen to a Weeknd song, I would imagine he'd have better one-liners than "Let me fuck you right now" or whatever he said. It was like, I don't know, like he.
What did you want him to do? Bust out some rhymes or like?
Oh, dude, no!
He was telling her. He
like
took this girl into the bathroom and said, "I really want to fuck you."
The Weeknd is very aware of how to perform cunnilingus, and he likes to talk about that quite a bit in his songs. And I feel like he would have said something along those lines.
Maybe he didn't write those songs yet, 'cause it's 2012, you know?
It's true!
This was pre-Cunnilingus weekend, I suppose. Isn't that what it said in the credits? That's what it said in the credits, I think.
This is the missionary weekend.
Jesus.
Oh, my God.
It's usually never like this, Zach. I don't know what you're bringing out of us here with this fucking movie.
I'm here for it.
What are you doing to us? Actually, hold on. This is a good transition point because you talked about something that I really want to bring up, and that's you were talking about Adam Sandler being a badass in this scene and fighting the Weeknd and just like going all out on him and stuff like this.
Sure.
The thing that I loved the most about the trailer that I was probably the most disappointed with in the movie is that Howard Ratner was not more of a badass. I think the trailer presented him as like this very hardcore, like, don't fuck with me, like he's pushing people around, he's beating people up, he's like, that's my money, get the kids out of the house. He felt like a
Are you having fun? Yes.
He felt like a straight up G, like a hardcore badass gangster in the trailer. But in the movie he's like the Sandlerized version of that. Like he's fast talking and kind of like he's still kind of a weak ass punk. Like people push him around and he gets shit on a lot. He's kind of a bitch. So I was really disappointed that he wasn't more of an alpha in the
does
movie.
he even land a punch on the Weeknd? I don't think he does.
I think they just wrestle around.
Yeah.
I think an issue, as much as it would have been nice to see that, I think an issue is I feel like a large part of the anxiety they try to transfer to you as the viewer is how terrorized he is by the goons. Mm-hmm. And if he was like a straight up G, like the goons wouldn't be like as menacing.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah, I think I was just prepared for a different movie because of the trailer.
Yeah.
And it was different, which is not always necessarily bad, but I was more excited for this one thing, which it didn't quite turn out to be.
I think the microcosm of that in the trailer is the goon says, "Are you having fun?" And he leans down and whispers a very goofy yes.
Yeah, like he's got him locked in the room.
Right,
yeah.
and that scene is awesome, but it's not the way they deliver it in the trailer where he's like,
right,
I got you right where I want you kind of thing. He does it out of panic, not out of strategy.
Right, sure.
It really doesn't even mean to do it. It just happens. Okay, so they have a big blow up. He says, you're out of the apartment by Friday, blah, 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 blah. This is the beginning of the skid to rock bottom, though. I mean, this is where Julia's not in his life. His kids don't want anything to do with him. Like,
can't get the gem back.
Can't get the gem. Yeah. I mean, he's really head towards rock bottom. In the morning, he attempts to get a hold of KG. Then we get my favorite scene in the movie, and it's all editing. So KG shows up with the stone, right? He's going to give it back. But he's stuck in the vestibule. Mm-hmm. This was so masterfully done in cinematography and editing that we have to just talk about it. So they build drama by... I watched this scene twice because as I'm watching the first time, I thought it was a oneer. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't. It's brilliant. And you'll notice the camera's constantly swaying back and forth and following Howard throughout the room, right? Like he's running into the back. He's running for, I'm so sorry, like banging on the glass, right? But every time a close-up happens, the camera is locked down on a tripod, right? So you get this really like, that rhythm to the scene, fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And it's just like the director or the cinematographer who did this movie. Do you know who it is?
He's the guy they've used for all their other stuff. He's not a name that you would know, but he did Good Time and he does the other work that they've done.
Talk about that scene because
I think
I need to look it up because this guy's bigger than you think he is.
Honestly, that's going to be my scene later. I'm going to answer the question now. We do questions at the end. But favorite
Maybe
scene...
not tonight.
Favorite
We're
scene...
already an hour in.
My favorite scene in the movie is the one where they're trapped in the room to the jewelry store. That's 2 doors, and they're locked in, and it's like an old latch or something. So the switch isn't working, and they can't get into the jewelry store. That scene embodies the entire movie to me because it's so... They keep it... Pretty much, it's very few shots. It's not edited that much, even though there are certain edits into. But a lot of it is just going around, and it really amps up the anxiety of it. And that's the scene that gets your heart pumping the most because you could feel the tension rising.
Yes.
Like they're yelling, they're like, "Let us in, let us in!" And he's trying to do all these things, and no one can let him in, and nothing's working. And it's like 5 or 6 minutes. It feels like
brilliant.
like it just heightens everything, and it's like it really. That scene to me embodies the movie. What am I looking at right now?
That's the cinematographer.
That's not. I don't know if that's true.
No, I'm dead serious. Look. Cinematographer.
Oh, Uncut Gems.
For Uncut Gems.
Oh, okay. Then I was
So
thinking
it's
of
the guy
somebody
that did
else.
Seven. He does a lot of Scorsese movies. He does a lot of different things. I mean, the guy's kind of a gangster.
I don't know why I was thinking of somebody else, but yeah, definitely.
What's his name? I was hoping you could say the name.
For
This guy's name. What is this guy's... Oh, jeez.
Darius Kanji.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Darius Kanji. Anyway. So yeah, I just like the technical aspect of the way that they create tension in that one is completely different than any of the other ones that they create tension in, and it's so brilliant and masterfully executed. Yeah. What'd you guys think of this scene?
It's definitely, like you guys said, it's definitely the one that got my heart racing the most because we don't know what, like, they're there to obviously make an exchange, but the build up and everything makes it almost feel like it's something else, and we don't quite know, and everybody's claustrophobic, and you know what happens when people are put into a box, they get agitated, they lash out. I was waiting and waiting. Probably, I was watching it, and I could feel, like, my clock just ticking, and then I couldn't move my arms the whole time.
Yeah.
And it was the perfect amount of anxiety that's you should feel in that type of scene and movie. I loved it.
Just like when it was over, you felt your shoulders just drop.
Yeah.
You're like, I didn't
When
even
he
know this
finally
got up
Weight
there.
finally got lifted off. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Because with that building anxiety, you don't necessarily know if once the doors open, if he's just going to storm out because you made him fucking wait, or if he's going to come in there. And then on top of that, I mean, I think this is the most important scene because it sets up, and you have no reason to think about in this regard, but it sets up that door is faulty, and that becomes a major tipping point for the end of the film.
I'm waiting for the end to drop the metaphor of the vestibule on everybody. I think I really got something pretty clever worked out.
I'm ready.
Don't look at my notes. So then, after he gets the gem back from KG, he tells KG he can come bet on it tomorrow at a auction. We then get a scene where the extended family, and we're going to assume it's Dina Menzel's side of the family, is celebrating Passover. We find out that Arno, who is the guy he owes all the money to, is also his brother-in-law. And we find out who is not Jewish and kind of a loser in the family, which I love that flip.
Yep.
Because in this entire Passover sequence, Adam Sandler, or Howard's the man. Howard's making all the jokes at the table. He's like, that's old school shit. You know what I mean? He's awesome in this scene, and you like him. You really start to like the character. He's an anti-hero for a lot of the movie. And then, when this scene hits, you're like, you know what? I get this guy. I feel for him. I'm sorry that this shit's happening to him. I love this guy. And then we get an awesome scene between him and Idina Menzel when she puts on her old,
bar mitzvah dress.
Bar mitzvah dress.
Yeah.
Which is if she's a 40-year-old woman that can fit in a bar mitzvah dress. First off, did she not grow? Was she a 5'9" woman in 16 or whatever?
Bodies, man. I don't know.
So, but that scene's great. He tries to reconcile with Idina. It doesn't work. So much so that when she pumps to hit him, do you catch the line she throws at them as everybody runs into the room?
Yeah. Oh man.
I don't remember what it is.
She goes, I don't even want to touch
Yep.
you.
Yeah.
Yep.
She won't even hit him because she doesn't even want to touch him.
Yeah, she's repulsed to
Fucking
him.
awesome. I think she's still like, she didn't get a nominee or anything.
No.
But she's really fucking good in this movie.
Yeah, she's very talented.
I just I want to hop back to the dinner.
Yeah.
Because if I remember correctly, I believe it would be like her mother or whatever is breaking down like the plagues.
Yes.
And I think, obviously it could have been any time of year or whatever, but I guess with the
It's Passover.
the Passover and the breaking down of the plagues, like we're going over that, history or whatever, repeats itself. We're witnessing a series of unfortunate events continue to happen in different fashions.
Definitely.
And now that we're breaking it down, she's like flicking the wine on the plate and all this shit. You're just like, it harkens to what he's going through and all these consecutive bad things that happen. Just,
Absolutely.
you
Fucking Zach with the metaphors, man.
it's not fucking Space Jam. There's some shit to read into it. Jesus.
Swackhammer is Jerry. Jerry is Swackhammer. So just more good character building stuff in here. There's a great scene when they're flicking the wine onto the plate and the kid licks his finger. The older son who's like obsessed with his dad. Mm-hmm. It's just a good, nice little beat. Like you've been there. You've been in that dinner. Like you can place yourself at that table.
Sure. Yeah. Like they're just going through all their stuff, and you're like, "Can we just eat already?"
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I love that. So the next day is the auction.
Yeah.
Wow. So the next day is the auction, and we find out that his father-in-law brings like a nephew or something to come meet KG. Mm-hmm. He asks his father-in-law to bet on the price of the opal after he finds out that the appraisal has actually priced it right in KG's price range, realistically, like dead center. So he's going to try to get his father-in-law to stuff the ballot box to raise the price of the opal so that KG will buy it for more than it's actually worth.
Right. Howard thought it was going to sell for over $1 million.
Right.
And the initial appraisal was in that range, and then it got reappraised and was significantly lower, like $150 to $220, and that's why
a tenth of the price.
Yeah, he was very pissed off about that, but they wouldn't change it. They said either we'll take it out or it stays. So basically, he just left it there, and that's why he wanted to jack it up. Because I think, or what did KG originally offer him? Was it $175?
And then he gets $165 by the end of it in cash.
So, but what happened? Go ahead and tell them what happened.
Yeah. So during the auction,
tell them the story. Tell them what happened. I don't know why I just didn't take that. Go tell them what happened.
No, you tell them. Oh shit! Am I breaking the camera? All right. So basically, it doesn't work. Right, so KG's interested up to that $175 price tag, which is exactly what KG said he would pay for it. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, his father-in-law gets stuck with it at almost $200,000. Yep. And so he says he's good for the money, asks for the opal back. He puts his father-in-law in the car, and the car takes off. And who's there to greet him but Arno, who is now even more disgusted with him because not only does he owe Arno money, but now he's taken money out of the pocket of his father or his father-in-law. So he's now seeing like the true cancer that Howard is, not just on himself and his immediate family, but the entire family.
Right.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we're reaching rock bottom. Sorry, I gotta catch up in my notes. So after that, we get another brilliant piece of sound editing, another amazing tension scene as Arno confronts Howard, and the bully the goon has had enough. He throws the fastest punch I've ever seen on film to Howard's throat, and then eventually continues, beats him up, throws him into the fountain, right? And Howard is definitely worse for wear at this point. Yeah. He returns back to the office, a beaten, broken man. When he comes in, Julia sees that he's basically gotten the shit kicked out of him and is a wreck. She goes into the office, and a cool scene happens where basically like they try to mend their relationship. We find out that she got a tattoo of Howard's name on her ass, and just like we really watch him reach rock bottom to the point where he's now on the hook for this opal that he thought was $1 million. He's now in the hole, almost $300,000 because he paid $100,000 for it, and then now he owes his father-in-law $200,000 basically.
Right.
We're at rock bottom, and then we get a call from KG, who was still interested in the opal. He's at the bank right now. He's got the cash. He's coming to the store. He's gonna buy the opal, and that pretty much triggers our final sequence.
Yeah, it sets off the climax because then Adam Sandler takes the money that KG pays him, the $165, and instead of paying off Arno and his goons, he places a bet on that Game 7. That night is Game 7, so he places a big 6-way or some 3-way parlay on the bet.
3-way parlay, they have to get the tip. Garnett has to have 20 points, and they have to beat the money line.
So I thought it was so many rebounds involved as well. But
that's the first parlay.
That's right. Okay.
Right. So, and then it's at this point when KG and Arno and his goons are all at the store together, so they're all kind of converging. So he has Julia Fox's character sneak the money to a casino to make the wager, while he is stuck there with Arno and his goons after KG leaves.
Which we get to meet our superhero, the guy that she was randomly in the helicopter with, who then shows up at the casino a bunch of times. We find out that Arno has sent a goon to track Julia at the casino. They're trying to kidnap her. And really what ends up happening is that after KG pays him for the rock, Arno and his goons show up, okay? And this is where I'm going to hit you with the metaphor, kids. So everybody is entangled in Howard's web, right? His web of lies, deception, everything. And everybody who gets tangled in his web must pass through the vestibule. And they all get stuck in it at least once, except for the character at the end who escapes with the money, Julia.
I don't know if that holds weight, though, because Julia does not get stuck in it, nor does his family.
I'm saying that she doesn't get stuck in it. She gets out. She escapes.
The only people that get stuck in it are KG and his people and Arno and his people, though.
And Sandler. Howard's stuck in it at one point, too.
Is he?
Yeah, he's like, open the door, let me in, let me in.
Yeah.
Okay.
The vestibule is the metaphor for the web that he has created. And everybody who interacts with him gets stuck in it.
It does make a lot of sense when you think about it, honestly.
That's interesting, yeah.
Never really thought about it to that point, but I'm glad that light was shined over me now.
Zach, what do you think about that?
I'll double down on this.
Yeah!
I'll double down on this.
Metaphor Zach says it's a go, then it's a green light, baby.
I'll double down on the fact that in a literal and a figurative sense, it's like the middle ground between the jewelry store, which is where the opal is, where, you know, it'll say where he gets his income, which fuels his gambling, and then the outside world. And it's like that middle ground between, you know, the gambling life and then real life.
Yep.
And I just want to go back real quick.
Absolutely.
Before they get stuck in there, I think this is where the movie ramped up the anxiety, because you got him doing the handoff with Julia Fox, and then she's got this Post-it note, and I'm thinking she's going to fuck up the bet. That's how I saw it ending.
Yeah.
That because she doesn't even place the bet, she just hands it to the cashier.
Yep.
And I was like...
Or that when she goes to the casino, that the casino's not going to take it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That they're going to get the bet wrong, that this dude is going to fucking kill her and rob her, or just she'll wake up and the money's fucking gone, you know. So I was like losing my mind for that portion. But yeah, I think you're spot on where, you know, everybody gets trapped in there. And, you know, it's the realm between, you know, real life, and then the jewelry store is the scenario that Howard has created.
And for all we know from the movie, it's the first time that Arno visits the store, right? And when he's trapped in the vestibule, he becomes enchanted with Howard. As he's watching, he's like, he's gonna do it. He's gonna make this money. Like Arno's like can't believe that it's gonna happen, and he's actually cheering for him at some points. He's like, "What's that score say? Like, is he really gonna do it?" And then once he finally releases the goons, we get just one of the best French noir endings ever.
Yeah.
Bang! In the face!
Yeah.
Just no.
In the face.
And then even further, Arno, who has done everything to keep himself distanced from him, dies because of Howard as well.
Yeah.
It's fucking brilliant.
It's so great how quick it happens too. It's like the whole movie you're building, you know, the anticipation, anxiety, and the gambling and everything, and then finally Howard wins the big one, right?
Yeah.
He wins $1.2 million, and you think it's all going to be well. He's going to pay people off, and like you're glad the anti-hero, even though he's an anti-hero, you wanted to see him win, right? And then as soon as he unlocks the door, the guy goes right up to him and just bam, before you even have time to realize it, shoots him in the face.
Yeah.
Which A, I think is the only time Adam Sandler's ever died in a movie. But B, just how quick and graphic it was fantastic. It was so surprising.
Almost dies in Longest Yard. At the end and in the beginning, I think he almost dies.
Almost at the end, yeah.
Yeah.
Longest Yard, yeah.
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 He
But
does go
fantastic.
to heaven in Happy Gilmore.
Oh my god. He sees heaven. He sees Chubbs. Yeah, with the alligator. But no, fantastic. Just a great death scene. Just so quick and unexpected. At least on my part. I don't know if you guys saw it coming. But
Yeah.
My jaw dropped. Like, I thought that this was going to be a very, very happy ending, and I don't know why my heart felt that, because nope.
Yeah.
That was-
Well, you've been rooting for him the whole movie, or not rooting for him, but that had been the goal for the whole movie, was to win a big bet, right? And then finally it happens, and then he doesn't get to see it. Yeah.
Doesn't get to experience it.
Never quite. It's always just out of reach.
Yeah.
So.
Anything else to add? I mean, that's.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing when Adam Sandler dies, and then when Arno dies, it's kind of like, I don't know the best way to put it. Not like karma, but like in one regard, like Adam Sandler had his flaws or whatever, and then his family just kind of like lets him go. But Arno like doesn't let it go. And I mean, he's into him for money or whatever. So like Arno's, his flaw of pursuing Adam Sandler with these goons and shit, catches up with him too.
I almost feel like he pities him. Arno pities him, and he's just trying to make him learn a lesson, right? Because Arno closes the bet, right? He puts in that crazy bet, and Francesca's character goes like, "That's never gonna hit. That's the dumbest bet I ever heard." And like, if Arno wanted to, he could have closed off any of the bets, but he doesn't. He closes off this one. He's like, "Come on, man! Like, just do the right thing." Like, he's trying to give him the opportunity to do the right thing constantly. He's constantly giving another chance, and now he pays for it by dying because he kept giving him another chance.
Yeah. I think pity is the right word, and you see it the most in the scene after the auction.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, "Come on, man," and then he just like walks away with his guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of trying to kidnap him or something.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's great.
Yeah. Great ending. I thought.
Terrific ending. So, Zach, we do a series of questions.
Don't do all of them, but
What?
I won't do all of them if you run out of time.
I mean, we're at a $1:28 right now.
Yeah.
Do we want to do questions?
Yeah,
or
do-
just want
do
to
a
give a
couple.
score?
Yeah.
Let's do a couple. Okay.
Yeah, like
All right. So favorite,
let's do best and worst.
I'm
best
prepared.
and worst.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite thing about the movie. Austin, you always lead. Do you want to lead? We'll make Zach. Zach, favorite thing about the movie.
I think just the constant anxiety. I think it's the most notable or most recent movie where I felt uneasy, and
Sure.
I think it was probably later or maybe around the same time, like 1917 came out, and I hated 1917, but that's a different
Oof.
story.
Shot to the heart. I worked on that movie at Amblin.
It
was heavily
What an asshole! I'm sure he did that on purpose to hurt your feelings.
No. I mean, it was a beautiful movie, and I saw it in IMAX,
You can't
and it was
backpedal
amazing.
now. You
But
hated
no,
it.
it just the trailers for 1917. I thought were gonna leave me with this overwhelming sense of, I've seen all the thing where it's one continuous shot, all this, and I expected to be on the edge of my seat, and I wasn't. And then Uncut Gems, it looked interesting, but I wasn't prepared to be as immersed into it as I was. I think that was my favorite thing. I was 100% in
That's
the
great.
entire fucking
pulled
time.
into the opal.
that.
Yeah.
Hey, that's my favorite loop. Don't lose my favorite loop.
What?
That's what he's saying to KG when he's got the little ring
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's like, that's my best loop. Don't lose my loop. Don't scratch it.
Oh, man.
Austin.
Well, it was going to be anxiety, but I'm going to go with character development.
Okay.
Strictly because, like I said, I've said it prior on shows, I've said it in this one. I love seeing an actor that will be placed out of an element that he or she is in and puts them in a new directive and watch it go. Because, man, I felt, like I said, I felt broken at the end of this film. I felt more emotion for Adam Sandler than I have for any of his other movies, and this one's going to stick with me for a long, long time.
Solid. I did love the tone as well. I think that I really loved the ending with killing Adam Sandler. That was definitely a highlight. I love the music, which we didn't really talk about.
Yes.
The guy who did the same music as Good Time, OPN, 10 Tricks Point Never, who is sort of like a synth-based musician. But he does a lot of the stuff you hear at the beginning and the end when you're looking like into the opal and into colonoscopy. But I love the music that he does. So those were some of my favorite stuff. And of course, the scene where they're all trapped in the vestibule is fantastic.
My favorite is just all the stuff we never talk about. The cinematography, the editing, the sound design. Those three things were they were perfect, and they added to the story when they needed to, but they weren't noticeable until you go back and think about it, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, like that is noticeable. It sticks out like a sore thumb, right? It's like bad shit's gonna happen, right?
Yeah, the score.
None of that. If the editing, thank you. If the my whistle was pretty pathetic. But it all just fit, and it just the timing of everything and the execution of it. Props to my behind the scenes people. That was fucking awesome.
Interesting that no one said Sandler.
Well, I said character development.
I feel like we beat Sandler over the head with compliments already in this thing that we don't need to say.
Sure.
I think that Sandler's not backing down on saying the anxiety, but I think Sandler's the source of the anxiety. Without his performance, his performance elevates that.
Definitely.
I like you said, Harvey Keitel
And Sacha Baron Cohen were the other two.
I mean, maybe Harvey Keitel, but even then, I think it's a radically different movie.
Definitely.
Harvey Keitel's the guy that's in the trailer.
No, he's not.
No, but the character.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Harvey
I see what you're saying.
Keitel's the badass.
Sure, I can
Yeah.
see that, yeah.
Least favorite thing about the movie, Zach?
This is a stretch, but
That's okay.
I've thought about it. I don't think I would change anything about the movie. I think it's a damn near fucking perfect movie. But I will say, of all the movies that I have seen Action Bronson have cameos in, I wish I would have had a Bronson cameo in this. I don't care if it was in the fucking club, if he was just at the casino, if he was at the pawn shop.
Yep.
A little dash of Bronson would have been some nice spice.
I 100% agree, and he would have fit right in that movie to a glove.
Yeah.
He really would have.
Yeah. If the Safdie Brothers ever fucking hear this, put Bronson in that HBO shit you're working on.
Austin?
I would argue that there wasn't enough more emotional scenes by Sandler, and I'll explain that. There wasn't enough of him maybe trying to reconnect with his family. There was maybe one or two, and maybe that's just like you said, the web kind of sticking everyone in. But I thought maybe if they would have put a little bit more into it, you could see how desperate his situation was rather than him just trying to get the next big score.
My least favorite thing is we never got to see them tell the kids that they were getting a divorce.
Yeah, the family just kind of fades
point.
away.
Yeah.
That
He
scene would have
tells
been
them to go to
super good.
the house,
Yep.
the sister's house,
Yep.
and then nothing.
Yep.
Oh, you're talking specifically about the divorce.
Yeah, like we never get that scene. She threatens it a couple of times, but
Yeah.
we never get that scene where like we're getting a divorce. And I think that would have just been that final death nail in his downward spiral. And like it wouldn't even have to be. She could have done it over the phone after he gets beat up. Like, I told the kids, and like you hear them crying, or like there could have been something there. I think that just would have that last little just like would have been
Interesting.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I already touched on it, but I just the movie I thought I was getting after watching the trailer was not this movie, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I wanted the other movie where Howard was more of Sandler as a badass and just running shit the whole time.
Right.
Which again, not disappointed it wasn't that, but I was really excited, and it didn't quite live up to the expectations I had set because of that.
Okay.
But
You love the questions. Is there another question you want to do other than score?
No, I think we've because we can't really do least person in this. We all know the best one's gonna be Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
So.
yeah.
Well, no, Idina Menzel. I think I've made that perfectly clear.
I guess
Julia
Marcia
Fox.
Gay Harden's not
Julia Fox.
Julia
No,
Fox.
I think we're good.
You
on
think
the
we're
rest
good?
of them.
Okay, awesome. So, Uncut Gems happens to be our 13th movie, which I think is just brilliant in its
I didn't
own.
do Space Jam, so it's not for me.
Shut up. You're the guest. Start us off. What's your score, 1 through 10? You are allowed to use decimals.
Shit. I mean,
If you would.
I feel like a 10's a rookie score, but
Nope.
I fucking...
We've Social Network got a 10 from Justin, and Social
That's the
Network
only
got
10, though.
a 10, a 9.3, and an 8, and then
Yeah.
Goodfellas got an 8, a 9.6, and a 9.1. Scott Pilgrim got some high numbers too, but
Only 110 though. But if you
Only
want to join
110.
it, if you want to join the club.
I
If you feel
don't
like
think
it's a
I'll
10.
give it a 9.8 just because.
Okay.
I don't know if... I mean, it's not...
If you want to
It's
give it a
not
10,
perfect.
man, don't let us pressure
No,
you
I
out
can't
of it.
because I know that, like...
I don't think it's unreasonable to give it a 10. I really don't, and I don't say that often.
Yeah. You give it what you
Oh, yeah, fuck it. Because, I mean, I would give, Man on Fire a 10, too.
Right.
But, I can have multiple 10s.
If this is in the top, it doesn't have to be your top movie, but if it's in that
Right.
top tier
Yeah,
of movies,
it's a
then
fucking
nothing
10
above
then.
it.
It's a
Yeah.
10, yeah.
Okay.
Did you like it more than Good Time?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think Good Time I liked a slightly more,
That's fair.
but I'll roll into mine, and I'm going to give this one an 8. Solid 8.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love the
A
solid.
solid and respected weight. I love these guys. I love their movies. There were a few minor things that I think that just comes from my disappointment in it not quite living up to the expectations.
If you would have gotten the other version of this film, would it have been a 10? Straight on, just
Probably.
hypothetical.
I think it would. I mean, it just would have been so awesome to
think
see
it would have been
Sandler
as
in that
good.
role.
Do you
But it
think...
would have been a completely different film
Yeah.
for sure.
Right.
It
Do
was
you-
completely different.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you think the version of the film that you're talking about, is more so The Gambler with Mark Wahlberg?
I didn't see that, but that's my girl Brie Larson. I should watch it.
I think
Is he like a badass in that?
I
Kind
think
of
to an extent.
Like he has a problem, but he can beat people.
Yeah,
up too.
yeah.
Interesting. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I think that movie becomes too superhero-y. Not that he's a superhero, but that he's invincible and that it's gonna catch up with him eventually. But he's too much of a hero. I love this downtrodden, fucky, scummy anti-hero.
Yeah. I'm not bashing the movie because I quite like it, so I don't want my 8 to seem low to you guys because I do really love
8
these
is what
guys.
you gave Goodfellas and
Yeah.
Mystic River,
That's fair.
and I think
wow.
it's in that company. Absolutely. Austin,
What's my highest one I've given?
your highest one is
It's Goodfellas, but I don't know the score.
No. Oh yeah, it is Goodfellas. 9.6. Oh no. Yeah, 9.6.
Okay, we're gonna give this one a 9.7. This
Whoa!
one's
Whoa!
Let's go.
Hey,
Watch
oh,
out,
go.
baby.
man.
This
Let's
one-
go.
Fuck you, Scorsese.
9.7.
Ass.
Yep.
Fuck you.
It's like the
Sucking
person on the.
Scorsese.
It's like the person on The Price is Right. We're like, what was the number again?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the- that's like
1301.
I can't wait for you to give The Departed a 9.8.
Josh hates The Departed.
I hate The Departed.
He does. We had a very
did you?
deep conversation about
That's
this.
hilarious.
I think it's overrated. I don't hate it. I think it's overrated.
All right, for you, lucky number 13.
Yes,
what did
lucky
you-
number 13. I think that this is better than Goodfellas. I don't think it's better than Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim's at a 9.5,
Oh.
and Goodfellas is a 9.1. This is going to come right in the middle. It's a 9.3.
Okay,
Okay.
like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's better than Goodfellas. Goodfellas is long. It's really long.
Yeah, so is
There's a
this.
lot of
Yeah.
scenes that are
Yeah,
just
good, bad,
not
ugly.
necessary. And Scott Pilgrim, to me, literally made me reevaluate my top 10 list after watching it. And that's a lot to do with who I am as a person and the culture and all
Yeah.
that
Sure,
kind
sure.
of stuff.
Yeah.
But loved it. Absolutely loved it. And
I
I
love
watched
that.
it twice.
Uncut Gems.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Watched it twice.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
yeah.
Did you see it before I posted as the?
Yeah, so I had watched it once on Netflix and kind
Tried
of
to watch it.
tried
once.
to follow. I kind of fell asleep, woke up.
But you
like,
didn't see it. You didn't see it in theaters. Okay.
No.
Oh, you want the anxiety and the heart pumping stuff?
Oh, I can only
That's-
imagine what that conversation sounds like in theater. I'm sure it's
Man,
just
yeah,
insane.
overwhelming, really. But
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys all loved it. That's awesome. Check out Good Time. Seriously, it's on Netflix too, and it's
I'll
fucking.
definitely
It's
take
a
a
it's a
look
much
at it.
shorter movie. I think it's like an hour and a half or something. But yeah,
Thank God.
it's outstanding. yeah. So
Austin.
Yep.
You got our pick for next week, bud.
I
What is
do.
it?
So, I've recently been watching a series that was just added to Netflix, not from Netflix, but from a TV, in the past. And I've loved it so much, we're gonna do the movie that it was essentially with. 1991's The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, wow.
Okay. That's a good one.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yep. That's a good one.
Nice. I have so much stuff I want to spout about it already. It's so good. Yeah. It's been on TV lately.
Classic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Pittsburgh filmed.
Yes.
It was.
Came out on my birthday.
Boom.
Whoa! Check you out.
Perfect.
I do what I can.
Zach, thank you so much for joining us.
Great
We
insight.
really
having me.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You
Great
were awesome.
points. Yeah, it's
Um,
fantastic.
and you picked a great movie. So that is thoughts from the movies this week. Next week we'll do Silence of the Lambs. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Later.
See you guys.
This is how I win.